right. Activists are working to defend public broadcasting from severe cuts. As early as this week, the House will be voting on a proposal to defund your public media stations again. They have literally been trying this for decades. In 2019, Trump tried to actually eliminate PBS funding altogether and privatize the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This seems especially grinchy given the role that PBS played during COVID. Did you know that after all the schools closed when COVID first hit, that the local public media stations turned on a dime to provide free learn from home services for kids in pre-K all the way to 12th grade in all 50 states? Now, why is this a big deal, you might ask? Well, 14% of households with school-age children do not have internet access. Many of those, most are lower income or live in rural areas. And when education moved online, alternatives were needed to close that digital divide for students not only without internet access, but there was a lot more without reliable internet connections. And PBS did that. Starting in Southern California, they devoted their entire daytime broadcast schedule to a new lineup of K through 12 educational program that was aligned with state curriculum. They organized it into different blocks based on grades and subject matter, and local stations around the country picked it up. And thanks to PBS, nearly every American household had access to critical educational content regardless of internet access. And of course, with that and the critical Downton Abbey reruns, PBS helped a nation cope. PBS is also gives local emergency alerts, which might be helpful, right now, given what's happening with the weather and the fascism out there. The House vote is likely to be any day now, and activists are encouraging people to call their House rep and to say no cuts to public broadcasting. Go ahead, call now. I can wait. Also in media activism, more than 50 U.S. groups are urging President Joe Biden to make haste and fill that open seat on the U.S. Federal Communication Commission, the FCC. This time, we would like a decent human being that has not been a lobbyist for telecom. We need this person so we can begin to reinstate those crucial net neutrality rules. Didn't we already win this, you might be asking? Well, yes, we did. After a decade-long battle, the FCC under Obama passed net neutrality rules using Title II. It gave internet users the strongest protections against the nefarious plans of Comcast and their ilk. But President Donald Mussolini's FCC repealed those rules, and here we are. The current FCC is deadlocked 2-2 between Republicans who want corporate fascism to run wild and free on the internet, and Democrats who so far have actively worked against that. Biden has not yet tapped a permanent chair for the U.S. telecom regulator, the American Civil Liberties Union, American Libraries Association, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Writers Guild West, and other groups. A lot of other groups have said that Biden needs to work quickly to fill that open seat and allow the FCC to reinstate net neutrality rules. Now, let's remember, the open internet allows people who may not be represented properly by corporate media, say people of color. It gives these folks an opportunity to tell their own stories and organize for justice. When activists are able to turn out thousands of people in the streets at a moment's notice, it is because Comcast isn't allowed to block their messages or websites. The open internet allows people of color, immigrants, and other impacted communities to bypass traditional media gatekeepers. Without net neutralities, ISPs could block speech and prevent dissident voices from speaking freely online. And then where would we be? We know, Biden, you're very busy with the pandemic and all, but if you get a minute, fill a seat. In other news, over 1,000 coal miners, have you heard of this, in Brookwood, Alabama, have been striking for nearly 4 months in protest of the drastic cutbacks to wages and benefits that they have been living through. As if their job doesn't already cause drastic cuts in their life expectancy. 5 years, workers at Warrior Met coal mine saw their pay drastically slashed. They lost all their paid holidays. They lost some of their time off. They lost their ability to get overtime pay. They watched their health insurance costs go up, and safety standards and working conditions way worse than an Amazon warehouse. At the time, they accepted this contract because the company was going through bankruptcy. So they were being team players. But now Warrior Met's finances have improved significantly. They're making bank, they're making profits, and the company is refusing to share the wealth with the workers who sacrificed to save it. And now they're picketing. And guess what? Violence on the picket lines is escalating. We have some video here. Protesters are being injured when cars were rammed into the picket lines on 3 different occasions. These are peaceful protesters, and some of them have even been arrested on minuscule reasons. It's one of those things where the police and the company get together to try to squash the protest, like everywhere in history. Meanwhile, financial giant BlackRock Fund Advisors has made millions from the sweat and blood of these laborers and their families. Yet they continue to refuse to recognize that labor and the sacrifices that made those billions possible should be remunerated. So earlier today, by the way, on the anniversary today of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, a group of Warrior Met strikers, along with fellow mine workers from Alabama, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio, went to New York City to take their demands to Warrior Met's largest shareholder, BlackRock Fund Advisors. Act.tv is providing live coverage of that protest, and we are going to be covering that coverage with our show on Friday. So if you haven't already subscribed to this, wherever you're watching, you definitely want to do that.